Hey, good morning, everyone. So, back in the saddle on Monday, today, or Tuesday if you're in Australia, almost. Um, Today is day 10 of 21 days to releasing fear of the future. And the request was fear for my country. So, whatever country you are in, just think about if there's stuff going on that you don't like seeing. So, I live here in the United States, and I I definitely have, I get frustrated with stuff that I see that goes on in this country, and I also do my best to not overindulge in what's going on. But I would tell you, just this is Marty Murphy's personal opinion, I absolutely believe what's happening for sure in the United States, and I do believe around the world is, I'll just call it the beginning of what I think is a great awakening for all of us. And I think many of us who have been in a patriarchal culture for so long, it's the beginning of the end of that. And like many things, things can often look messy before they get better. And if you think about it this way, the way most countries are set up is under what's called a patriarchal culture. So I've even seen it in my own country where I'll hear women say things like, women should never be in charge, women can't make rational decisions, women can't. It's the enculturation of so many of us in so many cultures, and I know not just here in the United States. So that's part of the patriarchal culture. It's even, I know in the country, in the religion that I grew up in Catholicism, it was literally like men are here, women are here. So that's part of a patriarchal culture, and I just invite you to consider the idea that that is programming. It's really nothing more than programming. And I love this line: the loudest voice is not necessarily the truest voice. And I would say often that is very true, that the loudest voice isn't the truest voice. Because a lot of times, if you think about patriarchy, it's more bravado. We're talking about on its extreme. It's like, patriarchal, me Tarzan, you Jane, that kind of thing. It's very much this yang, and it's doing, and it's this pushing energy at its extreme. So that's what happens. And then the feminine on the other end of it is, let's see, the extreme of feminine. Hey, Melinda, the extreme of feminine is sort of in immobility. We're talking about extreme. So both patriarchal and matriarchal, let's say masculine and feminine energies, have their absolute place. So like feminine energy is creative energy, it's bringing forth life, and then you need the masculine energy to bring it into being, to create action. But action, here's to me how they work together so beautifully. You get an inspired thought, and you get exhilarated, and then you take inspired action. Not, I've got to make this happen, and I've got to push myself for it, and all of that. So I wanted to sort of give this beginning of this, because this is patriarchal. Like, we're in a patriarchal culture. I would say 95% of the countries out there are. So it's, if the caste system is men are here, women are here. In the religion I grew up in, it was men are here, women are here. My mother, when she was finally allowed on what they called the sacristy, she was shaking, because she was so programmed to believe that women weren't worthy of being up on that, up at the sacristy, as they called it. And it was like, that was so telling to me how deep the programming was, that she was shaking. So it's just to see it in a different way. And I have to catch this in myself. And years ago, if I could find that, I'll post it in here. There was a sportscaster who was talking about, and I am going to get to fear for my country, but this is all the setup for it. He was talking about the language that we use. And this is something, and I have to catch it in myself still, but I'm way better than I used to be. Is like, oh, you throw like a girl. Well, I am a girl. My daughter told me one time, some man said that to her, well, you know, you're acting like such a girl. And I said, well, the next time they say that to you, say, I am a girl. She's like, that's great. And so it's that whole kind of thing. Women are too emotional. You know, it's like, you say I'm too emotional, you say I'm too sensitive, like it's a bad thing. And sensitivity is huge. And if you've looked at some of the statistics in what's happening in the countries with COVID, the women that are in charge, most of those countries have been ahead of the game in this. And this is not to put men down or say anything. It's just like Ruth Ginsburg, who just passed away here, the Supreme Court Justice, and she said a woman's voice needs to be involved in every decision that's made. It's the balance of it. And if either are out of balance, that is not good. And what we are seeing, particularly in the United States, and I've seen it in other countries as well, is this heavy laden energy of a patriarchal culture. And that is what I believe, what we're seeing all around the world in so many ways is the beginning of the end of that. That is my personal opinion. Doesn't mean anybody has to agree with me. And again, I believe it can look very messy at times before it gets better. And it's much like when we're catching our ego in the act, and I call it the bully in the brain, the part that's just punitive. I mean, there's aspects to the ego, but it's when you catch it, it tends to fight harder because it's like it senses that, oh my God, there's going to be like a death of something here. And it's not to, I'm never saying to kill off the ego, even kill off any part of that. It's to bring it more into balance. So here's ways you know you're, certainly in my country, it's all the pithy quotes in the personal development world. The thing I told you about the coach that I saw that was telling everyone, write this down, the law of Goya, write it down all in caps, Goya, get off your ass. That's patriarchal. So feminine energy would be, I'm going to help you find what's standing in your way, or I'm going to help you find a way to see this differently. And you want to meld the two of them. Again, the perfect symmetry is, wow, I got an inspired thought. I've cleared enough of the muck out of the way and I got an inspired thought. And now I feel exhilarated about taking inspired action. Not, I've got to put my big girl or big boy pants on and make it happen. So if you are in fear, I'm going to tie this into the country. If you're in fear for your country, what I would invite you to consider is it possible that you are seeing the beginning of the end of a patriarchal culture that you have been living under, that all of us have been living under? Is that possible? That is what you are seeing, that you're seeing that, and that we can find the balance of both in the best possible way. Because again, we need masculine energy that helps us take action, but then we want the inspiration so that we're not pushing and running ourselves into the ground and so busy that we have no time to go inward and tune in to that, where the guidance and direction can come to us. So if you're afraid for your country, just go, what am I afraid of for? Am I afraid, if you've seen so many things, which many of us have seen, abuses of power and all that, and you see things happen to people. You see things happen to people. The thing that I say this, and I believe it with all my heart, the best thing you can do is keep going inward and tune yourself up as best you can. Because as we gaze upon stuff that we don't want, it helps us see what we do want. And if we are stuck in fear, we are creating part of the collective consciousness of fear that just makes things worse. So let's tap, and let me see who's here. Pam, hello. Oh, love this. Thanks, Pam. Tana, Nancy, Noni, Jean, Peter. I'm so happy there is a man here. Marcia, Melinda. All right. And Melinda Jacobs. Hey, lady. I'm liking all your stuff. Thank you, Marty. We are socialized and enculturated from birth. Absolutely. We so are. We so are. We're so enculturated. And it's no one's, I like to say it this way, it's not really anybody's fault. And this is a way to see it. If you see other people acting out, I get frustrated. I'm very human, so I have times I'm like, oh my God. But it's like to realize we're all enculturated to what we're enculturated to. And we're all in this together. And as we all can be part of the waking up together, how tremendous can that be? And can we add our own energy to the waking up for all of us and finding that great balance? So let's start tapping. Karate chop. Even though I'm in fear for my country, there's such a divide. There's so much unrest. I choose to acknowledge. Even though I'm in fear for my country, I don't like what I see is happening. And it scares me. I choose to honor these feelings now. Even though I am seeing a lot of what I don't want all over the place. But what if it's possible? Seeing what I don't want can better help me to tune into what I do want. I'm in fear for my country. I'm in fear for the unrest. I'm in fear for how unequal it is. I'm in fear for how people are treated. And I'm kind of terrified about what the future might bring. And I hear so many different opinions. So many people out in the world. So much fear-mongering. And fear certainly seems to be the bigger virus that's way more epidemic. And I don't want to judge myself for my fear. I can't help that fear thoughts fire off. I've certainly been enculturated for those too. And programmed to be afraid. But what if I can always remind myself, I can't stop the thoughts that fire off. I don't have to. That's too much pressure anyway. But as I start to catch those thoughts, I can interrupt them. And the more I interrupt those thoughts, the less of a grip they have on me. And as I start to attend to the fear, that can seem overwhelming at times, as I start to interrupt it and soften it, I start to notice I feel relief. And I can do that thing where I can start turning away from what I don't want and moving into what I do want. Because as I release the fear, it opens up possibility for me to allow what I do want to come into being. And then I can start to see evidence that more of what I do want for my country, for myself, has the space to come into being. As I relieve those thoughts of what I don't want, of what terrifies me, I find an entirely new way to see things. And I like that idea a lot. And I like that so much good is possible for me. So take a breath. All right. I think I actually did this. Did I? I might have done this on my personal page. That's okay. It was meant to be. So if you're in fear for the country, to me, again, the way I see it is, it's just my personal opinion is, it's the beginning of the end of this very staunch patriarchal culture that all of us have been a part of. It's not good for any of us. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's not, because it's too out of balance. It would be no different than if we were in this massively matriarchal culture, because the swings are out of balance, to find the ways that they can come together. And again, I believe what we're all seeing is like the fighting and expression of a lot of that, coming up. Like it can seem more intense, more like, oh my God, what's happening? And again, it's sort of that, it's darkest before the light, all those things. It's the fight that's going on there. The other thing that I've said this, and this isn't me, I know enough of astrology to be dangerous, but at least in the United States, whatever, if you believe in this, you don't have to, but I do, because I've seen so much that's happened in the work that I do now. What has happened, the transits that are happening right now, have not happened here in the United States since 1776. That's pretty crazy if you think about it. And I'm a pretty pragmatic person, so I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. So if you go back and think of what was happening here in 1776, and now it can happen in an entirely new way. So again, everyone, thanks for being here. Oh, let's see. Yes, Melinda. So let's see who else. Paula, Tim, Erickson. Hey, Shaquille. Great to see you. Hey, good morning to you, Shaquille. I always love seeing you. And then Madeline. So if this is on my personal page, which I think it is, I'm just going to move it over. The tapping really works, but it was meant to be here. So if you found this helpful, it's also going to be posted on YouTube, and it'll stay on here, and it'll stay in my Tapping Really Works group. So anyway, thank you all for being here with me, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for day 11. Take good care. Bye for now.